Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into one of the classics, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
It's a good one. A classic for a reason.
We've got an excerpt from the book to work with, so let's see what nuggets of wisdom we can pull out about personal effectiveness, how we grow as people, and
Relationships?
exactly, relationships. And we're going to be talking about Covey's maturity continuum. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah. It's a powerful idea. And we can't forget about the quick fix problem.
Oh, yes. I love that part.
Okay.
Okay, so I think one of the things that makes Covey so interesting is that he doesn't just give us some surface-level tips and tricks. He challenges us to look at our, what does he call them, paradigms?
Paradigm, yeah, our mindsets, basically.
Okay, our mindsets. So like how we see the world.
Exactly. He's basically saying before you even try to change your life, look at the map you're using, make sure it's even the right map.
Right, like if you're using a map of Detroit to navigate L.A., you're going to have some problems.
Exactly.
So this is where he brings in that distinction between the personality ethic and the character ethic.
Yeah.
Right.
Could you refresh my memory?
Well, I think the personality ethic is all about like techniques and appearances. It's what you show to the world. Right?
Oh, yeah, right. Like kind of superficial stuff. But Covey's saying that real lasting change has to come from deeper down.
From your character.
Exactly. It's about who you are, not just how you appear. He uses this great analogy of trying to help his son get better at baseball.
Oh, yeah. What was that about again?
So he realized that just cheering his son on or giving him, these little tips wasn't really doing anything. It was like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm.
Okay.
Might look better on the surface, but doesn't actually fix the problem.
So what was the real problem with the son?
Well, he finally realized that his son was struggling with a lack of confidence and, fear of failure. And obviously, no quick fix could address that.
Makes sense. So where does the character ethic fit into all this?
Well, he's not saying those practical tips are useless, but they work best when they're grounded in solid character.
Okay.
Like building a house on a strong foundation. He says we should build our lives on those deeper principles, integrity, fairness, honesty. Those are the things that actually determine how effective we are in the long run.
The things we don't necessarily see.
Right. And he calls that primary greatness. So it's like you could be a super successful CEO, but if you're, stepping on people to get there, being dishonest.
Cutting corners.
Yeah, cutting corners, that success is going to feel pretty empty, right?
Totally. It's like that saying, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul?
Exactly. Covey would say that kind of success is built on a shaky foundation. It's not going to last.
So let's talk about these paradigms. It's about having the right map, right? How do we even know if we're using the right map?
Well, that's where the principles come in. He says these principles, they're like natural laws. They just operate whether we acknowledge them or not. Exactly like gravity. You can't just decide to not believe in gravity and then float away, right?
I mean, I wish.
Right. He actually uses the analogy of the law of the harvest. You reap what you sow.
Classic.
If you plant seeds of dishonesty, you're going to get a crop of broken trust. And it's the same with all the other principles.
So we have to align ourselves with these principles, these natural laws of human effectiveness.
Exactly. Become the kind of person who embodies them naturally.
And not just faking it till you make it.
Well, Covey would say you can't really fake it. Your true character always shows through eventually.
Okay, I'm sold. How do we actually do this? Align ourselves with these principles?
Well, he gives us this really helpful tool called the circle of influence.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
Think of all the things that you worry about. Everything from, climate change to maybe your annoying neighbor.
So many things.
Right. That's your circle of concern. All that stuff you care about but can't directly control.
And that can be incredibly overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. But inside that big circle is a smaller one, your circle of influence. And that's where you focus.
And that includes what?
It includes all the things you can control, your attitude, your choices, your actions. He says, shrink your focus and pour your energy into that inner circle.
Instead of getting stuck worrying about things you can't change, focus on taking action in the areas where you do have power.
I like it.
Right. That's being proactive, not reactive.
So it's not, there's nothing I can do. It's what can I do, even if it's small.
Exactly. He even has this little phrase, use your R&I.
Use your R&I. What's that?
It stands for resourcefulness and initiative.
Oh, I love those little memory tricks.
Right. Tap into your creativity and make things happen. Don't wait for someone else to fix it for you.
It reminds me of that story he tells about the home improvement industry group during the recession.
Oh, yeah. They were all doom and gloom, but they
They
were
shifted their focus.
exactly. They
Yeah.
started focusing on what they could control, managing costs and increasing market share, stuff like that. And the amazing thing is they thrived. They even said business was better than ever.
It is amazing. It shows you sometimes when things are tough, you just got to focus on what you can do, not on what you can't.
And that's the circle of influence in action.
Exactly. And, it even shows up in the language we use.
Really? How so?
Think about it. Proactive people say things like, let's look at our options.
Or I can choose to.
Yes, but reactive people say there's nothing I can do, or this is just how I am.
Wow. I never thought about it that way. It's like our words reveal our beliefs about how much power we have to change things.
It really is. And speaking of power, Covey introduces another powerful concept that's super important for how effective we are, the emotional bank account.
Ooh, I love this one. It's all about trust. All right.
Exactly. Like a financial bank account, you make deposits and withdrawals, but in this case, it's trust you're building or losing.
What kind of deposits can we make?
Lots of things. Courtesy, kindness, keeping your promises, really listening to understand the other person.
It's about being intentional, choosing actions that strengthen the connection, that bond of trust.
Exactly. He even tells a story in the book about rebuilding a really strained work relationship by making these kinds of deposits.
And it worked.
Totally transformed the relationship. It shows how even small acts of consideration can have a huge ripple effect.
It makes you think about those everyday moments where we can choose to make a deposit or a withdrawal.
Yeah, like just saying thank you, giving a genuine compliment, holding the door for someone.
Small things that add up over time.
Exactly. You build up this reserve of trust and goodwill. And that becomes so important when we talk about the 6 paradigms of human interaction.
Oh, yes. The different ways we approach dealing with other people. I'm fascinated by this. Give us a rundown.
Okay, so he outlines 6 basic approaches. Win, 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 lose, lose, win, lose, lose, win, and then win, win, or no deal.
6.
Yeah, 6. And each of them is a different mental framework for how we approach interactions. And understanding them can help us be more effective and deliberate in how we handle different situations.
So it's about being aware of the different games people are playing and choosing how you want to play, right?
Yes. And it's tempting to just focus on the win-win paradigm.
Because who doesn't want to win-win?
Exactly. But Covey says it's important to understand all 6 of them to really navigate the complexity of human interactions.
It's not that simple, is it?
It rarely is.
Okay, so let's talk about win-win a little more. It sounds ideal, but I'm guessing it's not always easy to achieve, right?
Well, you're right. It's not always easy. And it's not about being a pushover or always giving in. It's about finding solutions that truly benefit everyone involved.
So it's not just compromise,
It's collaboration, yeah. And it takes a certain level of maturity and a willingness to really understand the other person's point of view.
which brings us to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
One of the most powerful habits. It's essential for building those strong relationships and finding those win-win solutions.
Okay, let's unpack this. What does it actually mean to seek first to understand? I feel like there's more to it than meets the eye.
Oh, yeah. It's way more than just hearing words. It's listening with empathy. Putting aside your own assumptions and judgments and really trying to see the world through the other person's eyes.
It's like that saying, before you judge someone, walk a mile in their shoes. But it's more than empathy, right?
Yes. It's also about understanding their logic and reasoning, diagnosing before prescribing, as Covey puts it.
It's so easy to jump in with advice before you really understand what's going on.
So true. And that can create so much misunderstanding and resentment. He actually connects this habit to that ancient Greek philosophy of communication. Ethos, pathos, and logos.
Wait, really? What do those have to do with it?
So ethos is about your credibility, the trust you inspire. Pathos is connecting on an emotional level, appealing to the other person's feelings. And logos is the logical side, using reason and evidence. He says you need all 3 for truly effective communication.
So you need to be trustworthy, connect emotionally, and make a logical argument.
Yes, you have to present your ideas in a way that resonates on all those levels.
It's not enough to just have a good idea. You have to communicate it effectively.
Absolutely. And when you genuinely seek to understand first, you create this environment of trust and collaboration, which makes finding those win-win solutions so much easier.
Amazing. Okay, I think it's time for us to take a break.
Good idea. This is a lot to take in.
We'll be back soon to dive into the last 2 habits. Synergize and sharpen the saw. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody. We left off talking about seeking first to understand, really putting in the effort to see things from the other person's perspective.
Right. And you said this is key for those win-win solutions, but are there ever times when a win-lose approach is necessary, like in competitive sports or tough business negotiations?
That's a great question. And you're right, there are definitely situations where there's just inherent competition. But even then, Covey would say that having a win-win mindset can be surprisingly effective.
Really? Even in a cutthroat negotiation, how does that work?
Well, think about it. If you go in with a super adversarial, win-lose attitude, you just create tension and distrust.
Makes it harder to reach any agreement at all, probably.
Exactly. But if you at least have the intention of trying to find something that works for both sides, even if there's some competition, you might be surprised at the results.
So even if you don't get everything you want, it's better to aim for a solution that everyone can live with.
Exactly. And he gives this really interesting example in the book. There's this executive who's in a contract negotiation, right? And he goes in with this mindset of really trying to understand the other side's needs.
Instead of just trying to bulldoze them,
Exactly. And by doing that, he creates this environment of trust and collaboration.
and they end up with a deal that they both felt good about.
Exactly. It just shows you, even in situations that seem adversarial, there's often more room for cooperation than we think.
I like that. So moving on, we've got habit 6, synergize.
Oh, yes. Synergy. This is where Covey really challenges us to embrace the power of working together.
Okay, synergy. I've heard that word a million times, but I'm not sure I really get it. Is it just a fancy word for teamwork?
It's related to teamwork, but it's more than that. Synergy is the idea that when people work together effectively, they create something that's greater than the sum of their individual contributions.
So it's not just 1 plus 1 is 2. It's like 1 plus 1 equals something totally new and amazing.
Yes. It's about embracing differences, valuing diverse perspectives, and understanding that those differences can actually be the source of incredible creativity and innovation. Covey describes it as this kind of scary but exciting part of creation because you don't know what's going to happen.
That does sound kind of scary, but also exciting, like jumping off a cliff and hoping you can figure out how to fly on the way down.
Haha, I love that analogy. That's exactly it. You have to have the courage to let go of control and trust the process.
Okay, so how do we actually cultivate synergy? Like, what are some practical things we can do?
Well, first of all, you have to build trust. Synergy can't happen in an environment of fear and competition.
So all those deposits we talked about in the emotional bank account, they come into play here.
Huge time. You need to create spaces where people feel safe to share their ideas, challenge assumptions, and build on each other's strengths.
It's like those ecosystems that are really diverse. They're usually the most resilient, right? Because they have all these different species working together.
That's a great point. He actually uses a similar analogy. He talks about how a man and a woman come together to create a child. It's like this beautiful example of how differences, when embraced, can lead to something totally new and wonderful.
So it's not about trying to make everyone the same. It's about recognizing the value in those different perspectives.
Exactly. And he stresses that synergy isn't something you can force. It just kind of emerges when the conditions are right.
When there's trust, respect, and a willingness to listen.
Exactly. And that brings us to the last habit. Habit 7, sharpen the saw.
Sharpen the saw. What does that even mean?
Well, this one is all about renewal. It's making sure that you have the capacity to keep living the other 6 habits, that you don't burn out.
So it's like taking care of your tools.
Yes, he talks about taking care of yourself in 4 dimensions: physical, spiritual, mental, and social emotional.
And he even says to dedicate an hour a day to it. He calls it the daily private victory. What are some examples of things we can do in those 4 areas?
Well, for physical, it's things like exercise, healthy eating, getting enough sleep. Spiritual could be spending time in nature, meditating, praying, anything that connects you to something bigger than yourself.
What about mental?
Reading, learning new skills, having those deep conversations, pursuing creative hobbies, all of that.
And then social emotional would be nurturing your relationships, spending time with loved ones.
You got it. It's about investing in yourself so you have the energy and resilience to show up as your best self.
I like that. Self-care isn't selfish, it's essential.
Totally. And this habit is essential for maintaining all the other habits. If you don't take care of yourself, you burn out, become reactive, and lose that ability to be proactive and principle-centered.
So it all comes back to taking care of yourself.
It really does. And that brings us to the end of our exploration of the 7 habits. But before we wrap things up completely, I'm curious, what's really resonated with you so far?
That's a good question. I think what's sticking with me the most is this idea of the maturity continuum.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, he talks about how we move from dependence to independence to interdependence as we grow. And that just really struck a chord with me.
Interesting. What is it about that idea that speaks to you?
I think in our culture, we put so much emphasis on independence, like it's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But Covey's saying true effectiveness is actually about interdependence, recognizing that we're all connected and that our biggest wins come from collaborating with others.
It really challenges that individualistic mindset, doesn't it?
It totally does. It's like shifting from I thinking to we thinking. And I think that could be so powerful, not just for individuals, but for our communities and for the world.
It's a beautiful vision, and it fits so perfectly with everything else we've been talking about, the win-win solutions, the synergy, the importance of building strong, trusting relationships.
It makes me wonder how much more we could accomplish if we moved away from competition and really embraced collaboration.
I know. And it reminds us that our effectiveness isn't just about what we achieve on our own, but about the positive impact we have on the world around us.
That's a great point. But we have one more really important concept to cover before we go. The upward spiral.
Oh, yes. The upward spiral of growth. This is Covey reminding us that personal effectiveness is a journey. It's not about reaching some final destination. It's about continually learning, growing, and becoming more in line with our values.
So it's about embracing that journey of constant improvement, knowing there's always room to grow.
Exactly. And he says the fuel for that upward spiral is feedback. We have to be open to feedback from other people, reflect on our own experiences, and make adjustments as we go.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about being willing to learn and grow.
Exactly.
Wow, that was a lot. I'm feeling inspired, but also a little overwhelmed. There's so much to think about with these 7 habits. Where do we even begin?
I hear you. It's a lot to take in. It can be tempting to try to do everything at once, but Kagi actually suggests focusing on one habit at a time.
Okay, that makes sense. Like master one and then move on to the next.
Exactly. He says that building one habit creates a foundation for developing the others.
Kind of like building a house. You have to start with the foundation before you can add the walls and the roof.
Exactly. And Kavi even lays out a sort of roadmap for tackling the habits sequentially. He suggests starting with what he calls the private victory habits.
The private victory.
Yeah, these are the habits that are all about developing your own character and independence. So that's habits 1, 2, and 3.
Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind and put first things first.
You got it. Those habits are about taking ownership of your life, getting clear on your values, and making choices that are in line with your goals.
So it's like getting your own house in order before you start inviting people over.
That's a great way to put it. And then, once you've got that solid foundation of personal effectiveness, you can move on to the public victory habits.
Which are all about relationships.
Exactly. Habits 4, 5, and 6. Think win-win, seek first to understand, and synergize. These are the habits that help you build strong, healthy, interdependent relationships.
So the private victory habits are about you, and the public victory habits are about how you interact with others.
That's a great way to think about it. And of course, habit 7, sharpen the saw, underpins all the others.
Right, you got to take care of yourself to have the energy to do any of this stuff.
Exactly. It's a brilliant framework, really. And the beauty of it is that it's a lifelong journey.
You're never really done.
Exactly. There's always room for growth and improvement.
I love that. It takes the pressure off.
And that's where the idea of the upward spiral comes in, right? Covey is saying we're not static beings. We're constantly growing, changing, evolving.
It's like we're always climbing a mountain, and with each step, we get a better view.
Exactly. And that journey, that upward climb, is what makes life so interesting.
Well, I have to say, I'm feeling pretty energized after this deep dive into the 7 habits. It's given me so much to think about in terms of how I can be more effective in my own life.
Me too. It's always inspiring to revisit this material.
And for our listeners, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, remember, you don't have to do everything at once. Just pick one habit that resonates with you and start there.
Just one small step in the right direction can make a big difference over time.
Exactly. So be patient with yourself and enjoy the journey. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.